Hello dear viewers, myself Nasir and you're watching Mr.Zoologist YouTube channel. Today we are going to discuss about neural control and coordination, means to say how nerves are connected. We are going to look upon its basics, its parts of the nervous system, functions of the different parts of the nervous system, as well as some disorders might be related to them. What is nervous system? Nervous system or neural system, in actual, it is a system that controls and coordinates the body activities. Controls means to say that some activities are under our brain's control, conscious control. These are called voluntary movements or activities, whereas which are not under our brain or conscious control, these are called as involuntary activities, involuntary movements. And second purpose is to conduct and integrate the information, means to say to get or send the information. It is also a function of the nervous system, as well as to respond to the stimuli. Stimuli is what? If we talk about stimuli, it is a change. That change can be in the internal body or internal environment, or that change can be in the external environment or surroundings. And what are the parts of the nervous system or neural system? These includes brain on the topmost of the body, and spinal cord which extends from neck to the back region, and nerves are spread throughout the body, and it is made up of specialized cells. These cells are called as neurons. Neurons in actual are the base of the nervous system, and there are more types of the neurons, three types of neurons on the basis of their function. Neuron is the structural and functional unit of the nervous system. It has three main parts. One is cell body, that is also called as cyton. From cell body, two more processes arise. These are called as dendrites and axons. So in actual, if we talk about the structure of a neuron and about its cell body, it contains cytoplasm, or it means to say it has a cytoplasm, its own cytoplasm, cell organelles, and nasal granules. Nasal granules are granular bodies, as you can see in the diagram, that these are the nasal granules inside the cell body of a neuron. So it has its own nucleus, and from these cell bodies different processes arise. So it has a tree like branches. These branches are called in the topmost, as you can see in the slide, that these are the dendrites. And dendrites have tree like clusters, and from where to the end, towards the end, right side, there are axons. Axons have schwan cells, as well as axons have outer covering which sheath black color you are looking at in the axons. That covering outside the schwan cells is called myelin sheath. So myelin sheath, and between two axons there is a junction, there is a gap. This gap is called as nodes of Ranvier. And next to it, at the last part of the axon, there are axon terminals, and from where last gap is present on the axon terminal, that is called as synaptic knob. As I have told you earlier, that what is dendron? Short fibers that project out of the cell body. These structures that are projecting outside the cell body, these are called as dendrons or dendrites. Sub branches of dendron are called dendrites. What is their function? They transmit impulses towards cell body. Their purpose of origin is that they have to carry the information towards the cell body. It means they carry the information towards the cell body. They will gather all the information and will transfer that to the cell body. Whereas if we talk about the axons, nerve fibers, these a long fiber which transmit impulses away from the cell body. The function of the axon is to conduct the information away from the cell body, collects from the cell body and gathers throughout the body of the rest cells. The branching of axon is called axonite. Each axonite ends as a bulb-like structure. These bulb-like or cap-like structures are called as synaptic knob. And now if we talk about types of neuron, there are following types of neuron. Multipolar neuron has one axon and two or more dendrites. As you can see in the diagram, multipolar neuron on the most right side has more dendrites. Tree-like structures are called as dendrites, and has only one axon in its whole structure, that is called multipolar neuron or interneuron. Basically, neurons have three types. These are sensory, interneuron, and motor neurons. Next is bipolar neuron. It has one axon and one dendrite, as you can see in the middle of these three diagrams of the neuron. that is bipolar neuron. It has one axon and one dendron found in the retina of eye. Next is unipolar neuron. These are also called as motor neuron. They have only one axon found in the embryonic stage. Means to say when a zygote is converted into the embryo and embryo further converts into an individual, during that stage unipolar neuron or motor neuron is formed. If we talk about the types of axons, there are two types of the axon, myelinated axon and non-myelinated axon. Myelinated axon means they have a myelin sheath, whereas non-myelinated axons have no myelin sheath. Myelinated axon is enveloped with schwan cells which form a myelin sheath around the axon that is found in the spinal and cranial nerves. Spinal means backbone, present in the backbone as well as in the head region. Cranial means head. White colored area formed of myelinated axon nerve fibers is called white matter. That matter, as you can see in the diagram, that white matter is called as myelin sheath. And gaps between two adjacent myelin sheaths are called nodes of Ranvier. Means to say the gap which is present between one axon and the second axon is called as nodes of Ranvier, as you can see in the diagram elaborated downside. In non-myelinated axons, schwann cells present but no myelin sheath is present there. Means to say the myelin sheath is absent in non-myelinated axons. The grey colored area without myelin sheath is called grey matter. So as you can see in the diagram, that grey matter is composed of only schwann cells. There is no myelin sheath present, found in autonomous and somatic nervous systems. If we talk about generation and conduction of nerve impulses, we have three steps for the transmission of the nerve impulse. First is maintenance of resting membrane potential, second is generation of action potential, and third is propagation of action potential. That how a stimulus arrives at the sensory neurons or the sensory organs, and how this information is transferred into the electrochemical signals, and these signals of the neurons are also called as electrochemical messengers. What is maintenance of resting membrane potential? Neural membranes contains various selectively permeable ion channels. Means to say sodium potassium pump is also present inside the neuron membrane, as well as calcium pump is also present. So in resting neuron not conducting impulses, axonal membrane is more permeable to potassium ions and nearly impermeable to sodium ions. As you might be very well aware of the fact that you have studied in the previous classes that a cell membrane has channels from where proteins and sodium and potassium leak inside and outside. 30 times potassium are greater inside the axon, whereas 10% sodium are greater in concentration outside the membrane. So potassium ions remains more inside. It means to say the inside is more positive, whereas potassium are lesser outside. There means to say the outside is more negative. Also, the membrane is impermeable to negatively charged proteins in exoplasm. Exoplasm is the area inside the axons, cytoplasm, where all the organelles and structures are present. As you can see in the diagram, that sodium and potassium's movement, if sodium moves outside against its concentration gradient, then we have to provide the ATP. If sodium moves from outside to inside the nucleus, then we have not to provide energy, because sodium has higher concentration outside and lower concentration inside.